I'd been working at Clear Horizons Tech for 5 years when it happened. The company was a decent place to work, modern offices, free coffee, and a management team that was, for the most part, professional. But there was one person who didn't fit that description. Paul Bennett, the facilities manager. Paul wasn't just bad at his job, he had a mean streak that made him unbearable. He'd been with the company longer than most of us and acted like he owned the place. Paul was rude to almost everyone, but he reserved his worst behavior for the janitorial staff, especially Maria. Maria had been our janitor for as long as I could remember. She was in her early 50s, a short woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Maria was one of those people who quietly kept everything running smoothly. She worked tirelessly, cleaning up after everyone without complaint, even when people left a mess without a second thought. I often chatted with her when I worked late. Maria would tell me about her family. Her 2 sons, one in college and the other in high school. She took pride in her job, even if it wasn't glamorous. "It's honest work," she once said, shrugging. "Someone has to do it." Paul, however, didn't see it that way. To him, Maria was invisible at best and a target for his frustration at worst. He'd make snide comments about her work, accuse her of being too slow, or bark orders at her in front of everyone. One Monday morning, I walked into the office to find Maria standing near the supply closet, her head bowed as Paul berated her. "This is the 3rd time this week the conference room wasn't cleaned properly," he shouted, his face red. "I've had it with your excuses. Do you even know how to do your job?" Maria didn't argue, but I could see the hurt in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Mr. Bennett. I cleaned it last night. Maybe someone." "Don't blame others for your mistakes," Paul snapped. "If you can't handle the job, maybe you shouldn't be here." I clenched my fists, tempted to step in, but I knew it wouldn't help. Paul was the type to double down if someone challenged him. Later that day, the office was abuzz with whispers. Paul had fired Maria. "I'm sick of her incompetence," I overheard him saying to a colleague. "We can find someone better, maybe someone who actually knows English." The comment made my blood boil. Maria spoke with an accent, but her English was perfectly fine. Paul's prejudice was on full display, and he didn't even bother hiding it. For the next few weeks, the office wasn't the same. The new janitor, a younger guy named Travis, wasn't nearly as diligent as Maria. Trash bins overflowed, the bathrooms were frequently out of supplies, and the office floors lost their usual shine. People began to complain, but Paul brushed it off, claiming Travis just needed time to adjust. One evening, as I was staying late to finish a project, I noticed something odd. A man in a suit, accompanied by another man in a maintenance uniform, was walking through the office. They were inspecting everything, the floors, the walls, the furniture, with serious expressions. I didn't think much of it until the next morning when an email from corporate arrived in everyone's inbox. The subject line read, "Facility audit underway." Apparently, someone had filed a formal complaint about the state of our office. Corporate had sent an audit team to investigate. Paul was livid. "Who complained?" he demanded, storming around the office. "I want names." Nobody admitted to it, but I had my suspicions. Maria might have been quiet, but she wasn't powerless. 2 weeks later, the results of the audit came in, and they weren't good. The report detailed numerous issues: poor cleanliness, inadequate maintenance, and even safety hazards that had gone unnoticed under Paul's management. Corporate wasn't happy. An email from the regional director announced that Paul's leadership was under review and that further action might be taken. Paul tried to save face, blaming Travis and the rest of the maintenance team. But his excuses didn't hold up, especially when the auditors revealed that Maria had received glowing reviews in past evaluations. The final blow came during an all-hands meeting. The regional director, a woman named Catherine, addressed the staff directly. "It's clear from our investigation," Catherine said, "that the issues in this office stem from poor management and a lack of respect for our staff, particularly those in support roles." Paul shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "I want to emphasize," Catherine continued, "that this company values every employee, regardless of their title. Dismissing someone without just cause, especially with discriminatory remarks, is unacceptable." She paused, letting her words sink in. Then she dropped the bombshell. Paul was being terminated effective immediately. The room was silent as Paul stood, his face pale. Without a word, he gathered his things and left. A few days later, I heard through the grapevine that Maria had been contacted by corporate and offered her job back, with a raise. At first, she had declined, saying she didn't want to work under Paul's replacement if the environment hadn't changed. But then something amazing happened. The regional director invited Maria to a meeting, where she personally apologized for what had happened. Catherine assured her that steps were being taken to improve the culture at Clear Horizons Tech, starting with better training for managers and staff. Maria agreed to return, not as a janitor, but as a facilities coordinator, a promotion that recognized her years of hard work and dedication. When Maria came back, the office felt brighter. People treated her with the respect she had always deserved, and the environment improved dramatically. One evening, as I was leaving work, I ran into Maria near the elevator. She was holding a bouquet of flowers, gifts from the staff to welcome her back. "Maria," I said, smiling, "it's so good to see you here again." She smiled back, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you," she said. "It feels good to be back." I hesitated, then asked, "Did you report Paul to corporate?" She laughed softly. "Let's just say I believe in standing up for myself, but I also believe in karma. Sometimes, people get what they deserve." As the elevator doors closed, I couldn't help but admire her strength. Maria had faced injustice and come out stronger, proving that no one should ever underestimate the quiet power of resilience, and that karma has a way of setting things right. That was the day I truly learned the meaning of dignity and justice, and it was a lesson I'd never forget.